All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Math 154 Fall 2021 semester. This will be week 2, lecture 1. Like I said, for the whiteboards at the beginning of class, we'll always talk about assignments that have been previously assigned that are coming up either this Tuesday or this Thursday. Remember, I said in general, that's how we're going to do due dates. If I decide to do something different, of course, you will know via a whiteboard announcement in class, but this is why we have to watch the lectures in their entirety. And as as hopefully you can understand, all of these due dates are 2021 for the year. I don't feel like I should have to write that every single time. I hope that it's understood. So far, we've been assigned 2 things, and we're going to keep it at that for today. We were assigned the syllabus/course intro quiz. So it's not just a quiz on the syllabus, it's just general mechanics of the course. 5 questions posted in Canvas. Make sure you complete that by Tuesday the 31st, which is obviously, right here. So yeah, and then all due dates are 11:59 p.m. for the time. So if you try and turn things at midnight, it might tell you, oh, nope, it's too late. So please, please, please don't try and dance with that fire. And then the other thing that you're responsible for that's due this Thursday, September 2nd, is submitting the Chapter 0 spreadsheet. Mr. Beckner, where do I find the Chapter 0 spreadsheet? Where is that in my math lab? It's not in my math lab. And it's going to be one of the only things for Excel that you don't submit in my math lab either. Remember, we're going to watch these lectures in entirety, which means you have to have watched week 1, lecture 2, where we discussed the first half of this assignment. That was all we did basically last class. And then today, all we're really going to do today is to discuss the second half of that assignment, the second tab of what I'm calling the Chapter 0 spreadsheet. So remember, you're going to make sure you save it. You will submit it in Canvas. You will find that link available. No, I don't think I've made it available yet. So I'll make it available today in case anyone does finish today and goes ahead to submit it. But I didn't want to make it available until today's class. That way someone didn't do only the first half, submit it, and then I go, well, you didn't do the second half, and I cannot give extra attempts in Canvas on these assignments. Unfortunately, it's a one and done. We'll talk about later what you can do in case you submit a wrong file, how there's a comment section you can attach files to, but we'll get into that another day. Reminder that you are supposed to be reading ahead in your e-text and the notes to share, or at least one or the other, so that you have a basic idea of the topics we're going to discuss. I'm not expecting you to have spent 3-4 hours on this and to understand it completely. I'm expecting you to put 15, 20, 25 minutes into this. So you go, oh, Mr. Beckner is going to talk about proportions today. That's where you've got 2 fractions equal to a fraction. That way I don't have to spend 30 minutes in, introducing that entire concept. I can just talk about it for 5 minutes and then move on to the bigger, grander details of what we do need to work on. I do have that memo up here on how to save a file again. I said it last time, so I'm not going to say it a second time. Make sure that you're practicing with Excel over and over and over. I'm going to leave that memo up here for maybe 1 or 2 more classes. Remember, just because you do something once does not mean you understand it. Do it over and over and over. So when you complete this Chapter 0 file, if you feel like you still don't understand how to fill cells down, that you still don't know how to change the width of a cell or how to make a chart, do it again, because this stuff is not going to go away. The stuff that we do in this file is going to be used over and over and over. And while we aren't going to be building these from scratch generally, the techniques we use in building it from scratch will be used regularly. So I cannot discount the importance of practicing with Excel over and over and over. Remember that the expectations of your work outside of just watching these lectures, so on top of that 2.5, 3 hours, is to be putting at least 6 hours every single week into studying, into doing homework, into working with Excel, whatever it might be. I will start assigning discussion boards, if not next class, the class after that. I think I'm going to do it next class. I think that's what's on my docket. And this is going to be very important. And this is something that every semester somebody wants to go through and answer every single question, even though 50 times I say don't answer every single question. And this is a product of people either A, not watching the lectures, or B, not paying attention. And that's what happens. But please only answer 1 question unless I've told you to do otherwise. So we're trying to make this so that everybody can be doing just a little bit of something. Discussion boards should take no more than 5 or 10 minutes of your time total because you only have to answer one question. You're putting a lot more time and effort into my math lab homeworks, into Excel homeworks. And remember that these discussion boards will be found in Canvas. There's only a few things that we find in Canvas besides the lecture videos and the notes to share in terms of assignments. It's the discussion boards, it will later be the project, and the quizzes, and then the singular chapter 0 Excel file, which again feels much more like a project. What else do I want to say? We'll talk a little bit more about the discussion boards when I start assigning them, but if someone does answer something wrong and you want to come in and correct them, that could count as your participation. But this is not a right or wrong. If you answer something wrong, as long as you tried, you're still going to get a 100 for that discussion board. There will be assignments where not every single student can participate in the discussion board because I haven't given enough questions, but that's okay. Just make sure that if you don't do, say, the discussion board for week 2, you do the one for week 3. There will be discussion boards where I say everyone has to answer. So if you miss one of those, it will count against you. But I will always be very explicit. So please pay attention to what I say with these discussion boards. It's all written down. I will say it out loud. So hopefully we can avoid too much confusion. And the last thing I want to touch base on before we continue our chapter 0 Excel file with the second tab of it is that you have to make sure that you're using not only Excel, so Apple Numbers or Google Sheets, none of those work. It's only Microsoft Excel. It's only Microsoft Excel. It's only Microsoft Excel. If you're going to learn Excel and you enjoy it and want to use it in your personal life, go for Google Sheets. It's on your cell phone. It's a nice, easy app. I use it all the time. It's great. But if I was turning in my Math 154 homework, I wouldn't use Google Sheets because it has features that Excel doesn't and vice versa, and it will mess up your auto grading severely. There'll be things you won't be able to do, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to use Excel. But Mr. Beckner, I don't have Excel. I don't want to pay for Excel. I can't pay for Excel. Well, student, you need to go back and watch last class's lecture and the introduction video just last week altogether, because we told you get Excel for free. You just have to download it, but you can't have a Chromebook and you can't use really, really, really old Apples. Unfortunately, that's the two catches that I cannot control and will be a massive problem if you can't go to a library or borrow someone's computer if you're in that situation. So the second issue with Excel is you have to use the downloaded version, the one where you go to office.bccs.whatever and download it from there. And if you don't already have it on your computer, if you're going online, if you're going through your Google browser and using the online version of Excel, nope, it doesn't work. It will mess up your grade. If you're going through Internet Explorer or whatever it's called now with the little swirly logo, Edge, I think it's called Edge, yeah. Nope, you cannot use Excel via a web browser. It has different features. You have to use the downloadable version of Excel. I know it's so specific and I know it's annoying and I wish I didn't have to make it that annoying, but my hands are 100% tied here. I'm hoping in maybe 3 or 4 years, I can kind of take the reins on this course a little more and have a little more freedom with the Excel stuff. But for now, it is what it is. We have to tip our hat to those who give us these details because everybody does their best. Unfortunately, sometimes there's just a couple of complications. Okay. For that chapter 0 file, the one last thing I want to say is, I did say this last time, but I'll say it again. Let's say when you watched me do the video, I said that we sold 5 hot dogs and you go in the textbook and it says, well, that says there were 3 hot dogs sold. Which one does Mr. Beckner want me to say? Mr. Beckner doesn't care. What Mr. Beckner is going to be looking for and what Mr. Beckner wants is that you have some number of hot dogs, a cost per hot dog, and then you have a formula in Excel that multiplies the two things and gives the answer and in a correct dollar format. So I don't care if the assignment you turn in says we have 5 hot dogs for $1 each, as long as there's an Excel formula that calculates that to be $5 in a total income. Or I don't care if another student says, all right, we have 12 hot dogs that we sold at $10 a piece because we're gouging, and now that would be $120. I want to see the formulas in there and the formulas working correctly. That's what I care. Use any numbers you like. If you want to get weird and wacky with it, I will not care. What I care about is that the Excel formulas are correct, equals blah, 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 and that they're displaying correct, a number, 2 decimal points for dollars and cents and things like that, a dollar symbol, whether you're doing it via the currency setting or the accounting setting. All right, so I think that's enough with our intro. Let's go ahead and get it. And like we said, we use a lot of pre-recorded videos. And when we start off, you might see those numbers be a little different, like the hot dogs may have gone from 5 to 4. Again, that's not the point, and we won't even be using that tab anymore today. We're going to go straight to a second tab, which remember they'll be in the bottom left as opposed to a web browser. All right, not that. So here we go.
So here's where we left off, and the tax rate number may be a little different. I was playing with a whole bunch of these, like we said, during class. It was originally something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember that the numbers here may not agree in the workbook. The prices of each individual item might not agree with what it says in the workbook, but the workbook questions are generally more about what did you type in this cell and what did you get afterwards. So don't take that part as the most important aspect, just these numbers being exact. It was more about being able to enter them, formatting the colors appropriately, formatting the cell types appropriately, all that stuff. All right, so let me get my textbook back. Let's do this. There. Let's see if that'll be good. Okay. So what we want to do is on the second tab, see they point out to go to the second tab, the purple arrow. And you can have more than 2 tabs. You can have 3 or 4 or 5. You just got to hit the plus sign. You can always right click on the tab if you wanted to delete it. You can double click on a tab if you want to rename it. Remember, all these could be important items for later. And what we want to do is we want to fill out all the information seen here, which it's not super massive on your screen, but if you have the textbook in front of you or the worksheets in front of you, you can see them a little better. And unfortunately, if I zoom in on this, it's going to mess up the borders of that page. So let's go to sheet 2 on our Excel file. I can zoom in a little in that one. I need to see about that far. That looks pretty good. So in cell, I believe B2, we want to type revenue per item per concert, a double per. The idea of what the word per means, we are going to get into very heavily in this course. It's a very simple definition, but it plays an important role all semester. So revenue per item per concert. Then in the row below that, in row 3, we want to go over to column C using our mouse or tab or enter, however we want to do it. Remember, shift can help you move left or up. Just hitting enter or tab makes you go right or down. So this will be concert 1, tab, concert 2, tab, concert 3. And then tab, totals. Now when I hit enter, because I kept tabbing over and over and over and over, when I hit enter, it brings me back to the first column where I was typing. It's kind of a cool feature if you're doing things with patterns. But if you look in this, the next thing I really want to focus on is the labels of soda, water, popcorn, etc., which are in column B, if you can see that carefully. And I'm sorry if your vision is not perfect. Believe me, I feel for you. Mine is most definitely not perfect. I just can't really zoom in on this anymore and have everything look proper. Soda. Good thing is you see me build it in front of your eyes, so a non-issue, I hope. Cookie, hot dog. And down here, totals. All right, so next up, we want to fill these out as numbers. Now, I'm only going to type in the numbers in the blue cells. All of these orange cells in this vertical column F, those are totals. We're going to use a formula to get that. And then same down here in this row 10, these are totals, so we're going to use a formula to get that. So there'll be 2 formulas in here, but most of this is just typing in numbers. So let's see, we got $56 for the soda. Actually, let me do it this way. 56, then tab, 63, tab, 53. You don't have to do it in my order, then enter. It just means I'm going to do all the sodas, then all the waters, then all the popcorns, etc. 30.75, tab, 45, tab, 48.75, enter. Popcorn, 25.50, tab, that's a 30, tab, and then a 18, almost look like a 13, enter. Again, tab and enter are not mandatory, use your mouse if you prefer. Then the cookie prices are 36, I'll hit tab, 49, tab, 44.50. Now, I can type the 4450 or just the 44.5. It won't actually matter because of the decimal placement. Then hot dog, 68, tab, 74, tab, and 54. So those are all the numbers that I need to enter. But there's a lot more going on with this than what you really see. There's a lot of coloring. For instance, the revenue per item per concert, that's a green color. So let's go to the cell it's in. And watch what happens. I'm gonna maximize this for a second. Watch what happens if I just click the cell where I typed revenue per item per concert. Then I go to back to home, the paint bucket, the drop down to make it that kind of green color. It only paints that one. So what you might want to do is grab all of these and then hit the paint bucket icon. And that just makes it a little better. Now you might say, oh, well, this looks a little weird. It's kind of left shifted. Maybe if I hit that, well, no, that didn't work. Maybe if I do that, no, that didn't work. Let's go back to the left one. You can use these to change your alignments and make it just look a little prettier, a little more centered. Because the centering option didn't quite work because it centers it to this cell. But as you saw when I did that, it actually moves it left because it's gonna put as much to the left of the cell as to the right of it. So we don't like that for this particular one. I just use the left and right alignments to manually push it or pull it in a direction and make it look similar. That's also bolded, so we're gonna hit the bold, and that looks pretty good. Next up, the concert labels along with their totals at the bottom. Those are kind of a reddish, pinkish color. I'm not perfect with color names, so don't judge me there. So let's highlight those three, and then let's switch our, see if I click the paint bucket, it's gonna make them that green again. We gotta do the drop down arrow and find that pinkish color, probably about there. Now it's also the totals down here, so let's highlight those three, and I can just click the paint bucket icon this time. Then the names of these, along with their totals, are all kind of a yellowish color, not highlighter yellow, maybe more like that. We'll go with that. So then do the same thing for these, highlight. You can use the drop-down menu, or since I've already used that color, I just used that color, that is to say, hit paint. All these numbers right here are a bluish color, not too deep of a blue, so that you can still see everything. You got a pretty good variety. That looks about right. But there's still a few more things that aren't quite right with this. All of these are gridded. So I could have done that when I was doing the individual colors and used the border and selected all borders. I could have done those separately, and these separately, and these separately, and these separately. Oops, wrong button. And then these separately. I could have done it that way, or I could have done it in a few less clicks. I could highlight this entire region, then these three, and then these three. Now, is there anything that says the word totals doesn't need a border around it? No, if you're making this up on your own, remember the point of me teaching you this stuff is not just to learn for whatever's good in this class, it's to take something from this and use it for your life, or maybe in a job later. If this is just for your life, the labeling is just for you, the emphasis on the colors and the borders and the shading and things. So maybe you want the totals box to have that border around it. So me, I kind of like it there. Me, I also don't like the uneven symmetry, so I'd have that have a border. I'd probably have a border around this as well. I'm going to put one border somewhere. I'm probably going to border everything. But again, that's not what I'm grading on for this particular file. You can completely mimic the file we're creating together, or you can do one or two things that are just slightly different. Because if I see you doing slightly different things and trying other things, it means you're experimenting. And in experimenting, you probably did something wrong, and then you did it right. And how do we learn from Excel? We do it wrong, then we do it right. All right, so again, I'm not really worried about the extra borders here, so I'm gonna leave them. but there is an extra border here, and there was one more color there, and it's kind of tough to honestly tell what it is. It kind of looks like a gray. And again, not really grading on that aspect. And it might look like a darker gray, but that's because they had that cell activated. No, they don't actually have it activated, so it is a darker gray. That's fine. That's fine. So, totals. What do you think we're going to do to get a total across if you got soda for concert 1, 56, 63 for 2, and then 53 for 3? I feel like that means we're going to add them. Now, with only 2 or 3 things, you could just go this cell plus this cell plus this cell. You don't really have to use a sum function when it's just 2 or 3 cells you're adding. However, it's a good habit to have, so I'll do it anyways. Now let's see if this is going to be right. Maybe I'm doing this right, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Sum, open parentheses. Remember, you can type or click. I prefer clicking. So I click and hold the soda price here. And I'm going to move it right across. Well, that's weird. It didn't put these cells in here. That's because I didn't do equals. So let's go equals sum, open parentheses. Now when I click, other things are happening, and I'm still holding my mouse button down. And I can drag, and it'll show a range of cells, C4 to E4 over there. That's what I want to add. Now I can hit enter, and you can see the total is 172. But at this point, I want to point out that something still doesn't look the same as in this chart over here. Our numbers are not formatted to currency, whereas theirs are. So I could go ahead and fill this formula down and then apply currency to all cells. But remember, if you apply the currency to the cells here, and then the formula uses those, it'll automatically assume it's currency. So I promise this will be the last time. Before I do the formula, let's highlight all of these and change their format to currency, or accounting. There we go. So now when I do that formula, it will automatically put the cash symbol, the dollar symbol here for totals. So again, equals, sum, open parentheses, I'll type it this time. C4, so typing C4, colon, don't forget the colon, and then I want to go to E4, and then I have to close my parentheses. You have got to learn this syntax. It's nothing super complicated, but if you don't practice it, even though it's not super complicated, you're not going to learn it. It's not going to stick. Enter. Oh no, that looks terrible. Well, that's because the cell isn't wide enough. We're using all of these things that we were taught last time. So we go up here between the letters. You'll see the mouse change, click and hold, and drag it right just to make it a little wider. Now we can see the value. Now, instead of typing that formula 4 more times, let us just activate the cell where I typed the formula, hover over the fill handle, and then we can drag it down to the other 4 cells, and then let go. And it will take that formula, which was originally adding these 3 cells, and because we're dragging it down a row and then another row and then another row, Excel thinks, hey, you probably want the cell references to move as well. And in this instance, we do. Spoilers, we don't always. We'll teach you how to handle that later, though. Now, look what happened. Because I double-clicked in that cell, funky things are happening. As I click my mouse somewhere trying to get out of it, it's changing the formula. So to get out of it, you have to hit enter. It'll give you an error, probably. This is usually what it does to me. Do you want to accept the correction? Sure, it looks ugly, but let's accept it. Nope, that was weird. And again, I'm doing all this intentionally. Eventually, you get out of that, and it gives you a dash here because it was a nonsense formula. Oh no, I'm starting to have a panic attack. What do I do? What do I do? No. Goose Raba, we calm down. We hit the undo button. That's our friend. That's our best friend. All right, I hit undo 1 too many times earlier, so I still want this to be bordered, and I wanted it to be gray. There we go. Now the totals down here, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a sum, but we're not adding up across a row. We're not adding up the 3 individual concerts for the item. We're adding up all the different items for a single concert. So that's how we can tell what we want to be adding up. If the total's over here, you're probably adding up the numbers to the left of it. If the total's here under a bunch of numbers, you're probably adding up all the vertical numbers. So we will go, and I'll do this on the first try correctly, equals sum, and we definitely want the sum this time. We don't want to have to do 4 or 5 additions. Open parentheses. I'm going to use my mouse. Click the first cell, hold. I'm still holding. Drag it down to all 5. Let go. You can close your parentheses, but the nice thing about the mouse is you can actually skip it. Now again, these cells are a little too narrow, so I just need to come up here and widen them. And I'm probably going to have to widen the rest, so let me go ahead and take that initiative. Now I can activate the cell where I just typed that formula, and we can fill it across. We can fill it to the right. So we're going to grab our fill handle with the cell activated. I'm holding my mouse down, drag it right, right, and we're going to add up not just for the 3 concerts, but for the total of the 3 concerts. And if all the numbers were in place correctly, that should be 695.50, which agrees with what we have on our worksheet. That's nice. So not too bad. You might notice there's one minor difference, and I just caught this, that the revenue per concert actually goes all the way across. So let's make that one green as well. Same green, there we go. Let's take the border off of that one. So I'm gonna hit no border. I'm just fixing up something. Oops. And then all borders. Move the font right a little bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, right a little more. I'm just trying to mimic it as best as I can. Oops, I'm on the wrong cell. There we go. There we go. Now it looks good. Okay, next page. So now that we have a chart of information, so a whole bunch of different concerts, a whole bunch of different items, and I know these aren't a whole bunch, but I'm saying we could have, this could be all the concerts for like 10 years a company's been around. And they probably don't just sell 5 items at its concert. They probably have dozens, if not hundreds of items over time, especially since people will rotate out items. So you'd have, if you're looking at concerts for the past 10 years, you've probably got brands from 5, 6, 7 years ago that you no longer sell, but would still be in this table of information. You just have zeros for them for all the more recent concerts. Okay. So you are now ready to insert a chart. Now I am here to remind you that in your Excel homeworks, quite often you will need to use recommended charts. I'm not going to be doing that today. That's not how these are set up. Remember, this is a very different type of Excel situation. We're learning from the ground up. So when you highlight a bunch of numbers and go to insert, in your first homework, you'll be using the recommended charts and probably the first one that pops up. I'm saying probably, I'm not saying definitely, I'm saying probably. And then you'd hit okay, and then you do some things from there. We're doing it a little different though. We're gonna use these over here for the most part, which are not necessarily recommended, but you get a lot of the same features. And again, if you do those on a homework, if it says to use a recommended one, it will deduct points. Okay, pull out just a little, there we go, zoom back. So we're going to highlight the cell range B3 through E4 and then click on the Insert tab. So B3 through E4. Here's B3, and we're going up to E4. Now this is E3 over here. To highlight through E4, we do that. So one more time. Click and hold to make that cell active or to highlight, but I haven't let go, so it's not active quite yet. So I can move around and highlight a different region. So I want to highlight these. I'm not highlighting everything. Please notice I'm not highlighting everything. I'm just highlighting the concert labels, the soda label, and the values for those individual concerts. So we're not studying water, popcorn, cookies, or hot dogs here. Just the soda across 3 concerts, and our goal is to make a chart that looks similar to this. So then click on the Insert tab. So we're on Insert now. And then it says to click on the column chart command, and that chart should appear. So column chart is right here. Columns are these verticals. Now you might say, here's column chart, but that says Insert Statistics chart. This also kind of looks like a column, but it says combo chart. So this is just our standard column chart. The other 2 that are popular that we'll use are these. Well, 3, excuse me. Pie charts. We'll do one of those today. Scatter charts will do a lot of these at the end of the semester. And lines, I like to say line graphs because it's a little more mathematical, but it's still a line chart, I guess. So we'll do some of these kind of in the middle 2/3 of the semester roughly. So bar chart. And you get a few different options. We want a vertical one because that's what it looked like in the textbook. Horizontal is perfectly fine, but we want to make it look like the textbook. And you got a couple of different options. This one's stacked. These two are stacked, excuse me, which we don't have enough information for a stacked chart. We'll get to that later. So we're definitely using this one. And look at that. That looks pretty similar. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. That looks pretty similar to the one over here. Now, what you might notice is the height of the lowest and highest is a little different. This is going in increments of 10 from 0 because of the dash up to 70. This is going just from 48 to 64 because Excel decided that was a good window. There are ways to change that window. That's not what I'm going to focus on for today. We'll come back to that another day. But because we had soda highlighted, it made the title soda. Because we had these 3 concert names highlighted, it gives the concert names down here. I'm going to do this one more time and I'm going to do it wrong. So I did it right first. Now I'm going to do it wrong. Let me show you what looks different about this. Instead of highlighting all 8 of these cells, so this was the correct one, highlighting the labels and the numbers. Some people will just highlight the numbers and then they'll go to insert, the bar chart, and this looks very similar. Look at how similar that looks. But it doesn't say soda at the top, it says chart title at the top. It doesn't say concert 1, 2, and 3, it says 1, 2, and 3. These are not labels. This is not telling me what they are. And when you do that in your homework, guess what? It's wrong. When you do that on your project, guess what? It's wrong. Your charts have to be well labeled. Title, columns, rows, whatever. Everything has to be well labeled. So that's why it was not a great idea just to highlight the numbers. We wanted to highlight the appropriate labels as well. All right, so we saw how to do it the right way. Focus on that aspect. Now, sometimes you might want to highlight this section over here and then maybe this section. But when you go to click somewhere else, the first clicked area goes away. Well, guess what? If you hold Control down, you can get both highlighted. That's going to be important for later. So again, check this out. I'm not holding Control. I am not holding Control at first. That's important. Highlight the first region. Now I've let go of my mouse. I'm not holding my mouse down anymore. Now I'm going to hit Control and hold it down. So I'm holding Control. Now I can highlight another region and then let go. So again, I've let go of my mouse at this point. And you can highlight several different regions everywhere as long as you keep holding Control down. I'm still holding Control. Once you let go of Control, I've let go of Control. Now if I go to highlight somewhere else, watch, all those highlights are going to go away. It starts fresh. Remember, Control changes how Excel works. So when you need to highlight separate regions, Control is the name of the game. All right, so we got that first chart done. Charting tips. Click on a chart to make it active and then use the Chart Tools, Designs, Tabs, Add Chart Element menu to add titles, change the legend, format the axes, anything like that. So again, click on a chart to make it active, then use the Chart Tools, Designs tab. Let's see if we can find that. And I have to move something that you probably can't see. So we're on, oops, sorry, active. Then Chart Tools is right here, and then Design. And this is how we can add chart elements like axes. So primary horizontal or primary vertical, see how that changes something, whether it has the numbers or not. The axis titles, again, primary horizontal or primary vertical. So if your homework asks you to do axes, this might be important, hint, wink, nudge. Chart title, which ours already had originally, but you can make another one. And again, I actually can't see what that chart title says because of Zoom, but it's there because I have a menu again that you can't see. Data labels, this will be important for later today. We'll show you all about that. Legends, trend line options. This is going to be important for later in the semester. So again, if you have a chart activated, a new menu will pop up here, Chart Tools, Design and Format. You can actually go to 5 or 6 different pre-selected designs if you want the colors and patterns to look a little different. That might be in the homework. So if I wanted to say design 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would click this one to make it look like that instead. There's quick layout options as well, which might not be relevant for us, but play with things, try them out. You never know what you might find and like. So we already talked about this basically, that sometimes Excel does not put the horizontal labels in there or any labels in there. So you have to do that by going manually into Chart Tools, Design, and then select Data. To make a chart the size of a whole sheet, use the Move Chart command button in the Chart Tools Design. So Design, and then Move Chart. So again, something that might be helpful for you later. So where do you want this? Okay, well, right now I've got it in sheet 2, but I want it to be in the first one. Then you could move it to the first one as well. So let's hit OK. And now it's over in the other one. I don't actually want it to be there. So, oh, the undo does not work for that. That's okay. So we can just go back to Design. We can go back to Move Chart. And let's put it where it belongs. Back in sheet 2. Okay. Now what we want to do is create this horizontal chart. So they say in this purple box, create this chart by highlighting ranges B3 through E8, B3 through E8, and then use the stacked bar option. And obviously this time we want it to be horizontal. So we're going to highlight B3 through E8. So B3 is here. So we're going to click it once and hold up to E8. So up over to column E and then down to row 8, and then we can let go. Now it's important that I did not highlight the totals column. That is important. We just want the individuals because this is trying to paint the individual categories as kind of a summing up over the 3 concerts. So like Hot Dog 1, you can see there was just under $200 of revenue from the 3 concerts. Here was Concert 1's portion, Concert 2 portion, and Concert 3. Now, sure, we can actually see the literal number of $172 here, but sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we're going to insert a stacked bar chart. So let's go Insert, back to the bar chart section. We want the horizontal ones. This is not stacked. That's clustered. This is stacked. Now there's a stacked where it's all set to be the same width and it's more of a percentage. Honestly, we're never going to use that one. This is the one. This is the way. So let's see, it gave us good labels for the concerts, it gave us good labels for the hot dog, cookie, popcorn, water, and soda because we had those things highlighted, but it didn't know what to call the chart title because there wasn't anything in this box right here. It probably would have called that the title otherwise. Maybe, maybe not. So what title do they say to give it? Concert revenue. So we can double click where the title is. That's the easiest one. The axes titles are more of a pain in the butt to do. That's where you have to go through the design, add chart element, all that stuff. So we just want this to say concert revenue. It may have been plural, but I'm not worried about that. And then we can click out of it. So let's see if that looks pretty good in comparison to what the book has. Let's close that. These little submenus pull up sometimes when you go to do things like that, changing titles, changing axes titles, anything like that. Okay, so the colors are different. If you needed to change the colors, I bet you could do that through all of those options. Again, not the point of this, so I'm not going to worry about it. But in terms of widths and everything, labeling, everything looks really excellent. So we can visually see that hot dogs earn the most revenue out of everything. Popcorn earned the least revenue out of everything across all these concerts. So maybe as a vendor, we look at this information for, say, 50 concerts, and we notice that the popcorn is way, way down here, almost insignificant in comparison to the rest. And maybe we say, well, you know, our overhead is kind of high on popcorn. We've got this machine that takes up all this space. We could probably put another machine in there that would earn us a lot more money. So maybe let's get rid of our lowest selling item and let's bring in something new that people would be interested in. Now, again, you can see it with the numbers, but when you're doing presentations and stuff, people love charts. People love charts. All right, now let's make a pie chart. Now, if we do a budget, you will be doing a pie chart for that budget as your project. I can guarantee that. It has to be well labeled. So this would be like your different categories of expenses in your personal life. So we're going to create a pie chart now. This one in particular, maybe a little different color and everything, but well labeled as you see here. So you need to highlight 2 regions. This is what I was alluding to earlier with the control and highlighting different regions that are not touching. B4 through B8, so B4 through B8 are right here, and then F4 through F8. So we're going to use the titles of the items and the totals. We don't want to highlight everything. We don't want to have individual concerts and the totals. That would mess up a pie chart really, really badly. And there's a question in your guided worksheets that alludes to that. Remember, even though I'm not asking you to submit your guided worksheets, and I'm not going to ask for a discussion board on it either, it is still important to you to complete the guided worksheets for chapter 0 because, again, it might help you prep for all this Excel stuff. You can't be lazy with this. If you're lazy, you're not going to learn, and you're going to earn bad grades, and you're going to have a bad time. This is for you. Do that work. Put in the time, especially since we don't have Excel homeworks right now and my math lab homeworks right now and quizzes and discussion boards. We're still setting things up. I'm taking it very easy on you right now. So do that. It's very little amount of work at the beginning of the semester to do. Okay, so we want to highlight the labels and the numbers, but when I let go and click, oh no, I can't highlight both at once. What do? I don't go and get upset. I remember that my teacher said control, take control. Highlight the first region, you can let go, hold control down, I'll highlight the second region, let go of control. Does the button sequence have to go exactly like that? Maybe, maybe not. Play around with it, try things out, do things wrong, learn. Because there's sometimes I can hit control first, there's sometimes I can't hit control first. You have to figure it out. Like I said, you'll do things wrong. I do things wrong all the time. And then we do them right, ultimately. All right, so now that we have the separate regions, and they say it's Command on a Mac, by the way. I know I mentioned that at some point, but there's the reminder. So we're going to go to Insert a Pie Chart. So let's maximize. Let's insert pie chart. Not the 3-dimensional one, not the donut one, not this like pulley looking system where I don't even know what the heck that is. This simple one. And there we go. Chart title, yay, that's very specific. So let's move this into appropriate window. So it doesn't look exactly like this. That says item totals. So on the title, let's double click. Close formatting options if it gets in the way, and change it to item totals. Don't hit enter because that'll give you more space like that. Just click away. And you'll notice that these are well labeled because I had those labels set up appropriately. These would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if these were not highlighted. If I only highlighted the totals, these would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me show you. Make another one. Highlight just the numbers. Insert. Pie chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not well labeled, losing points on homework, losing points on a project. Don't do that. Highlight labels too. But there's other things labeled in here. We have numbers. So the pie chart gives us a visual representation of, hey, the soda, or whatever this blue thing is, which is actually hot dogs. Soda's a little darker of a blue, and it's tougher to see because of the small size, but this right here is the hot dog, and if you hover, it even says that. The dark blue is the soda, the yellow is the cookie, the orangish is water, the gray is popcorn. So I can, again, visually see popcorn sales kind of low. Maybe we take out popcorn. And even when you hover, it will tell you those percentages, but we want it to tell us the percentages without hovering. So that's what we're talking about, going to Chart Tool Design tab, add chart element, then add title and data labels. So again, chart tools design, add chart element, data labels. Design, add chart element, data labels. Now you get to choose where they're located. So do you want them on the outside? Do you want them on the inside? Do you want them centered? None, well, definitely not that one. Data call out, best fit. Well, I don't think the one on the textbook looked like this. So maybe we go with best fit. That's about what it looks like. You might say center, and that's close, but the one for popcorn looks not perfect. So I'm gonna go best fit. This is just personal choice. But uh-oh, those are the specific dollar amounts. Look at the textbook. It wants them labeled as percentages. You know why we do pie charts? To think of things as percentages, not to see the actual amounts, but to think of them as a relationship to everything else. This is the biggest slice of the pie, so that did the best. I can even see it as a percentage. It's 28% of our gross income, if you will. Popcorn, visually smallest, 10%, definitely smallest. So how do we change these? Well, they tell us there. We're going to check the percentage box and uncheck the value box under more data label options. So going to the same set of menus. That. And mute somebody. Right, back on track. Chart tools, design, add chart element. Back to the data labels, but more options. Now, when I click more options, you're going to see a submenu on the right side of the screen pop up. Click. Now, sometimes this menu is not the right menu, and it's just a weird Excel glitch that I have happen maybe 10 to 20% of the time. It's really based on where you've previously clicked. But if that happens, then just close it and do it again, and it will pop up appropriately. So they said to unclick value. So you see how this says 196 and 172. Watch what happens when I unclick it. It disappears. And there's that little issue I mentioned because I took away everything. So I need to close it and do it again. Hold on. Sorry, I had to undo, see, because I undid the value first. So we want to click the percentage first to make it easier, then unclick the value. And again, I do some of these things wrong intentionally. Sometimes I don't. That was not intentional, but it's fine because that's how we learn, right? I just showed that. So we're going to click percentage first, and it looks a little ugly. Then we can unclick value, and we don't have that mess where this thing changes. But it was to go under label options. I just couldn't remember that specific thing, and it was under this. So there we go. Now at that point, maybe we wanted to change it to center, and we certainly could do that. Instead of best fit, we can click right here. Center, that still doesn't look great. Inside end, I'd probably still stick with best fit. And that was my dog barking. Okay. People often forget to highlight both regions. This is something I already alluded to earlier, and instead just highlight F4 through F8, the numbers, giving the pie chart shown here. We showed you this earlier. With no labels, to add labels, something we've discussed previously, click on the Select Data command button in the Chart Tools Design tab. So when you're under Design, you can see right here, it'll say Select Data. Then edit the horizontal category. Axis labels. So Excel will open this new submenu in which you can enter the names, and you can actually click and drag as well. So you can enter the range B4 through B8 by clicking in the empty box below. And it might not be clicking, you might have to type. Again, things kind of vary from program to program, or from version to version, I should say. I know there's an Excel version that you can't click and drag, and I know there's one that you can. By clicking in the empty box below, axis label range, and then dragging over B4 to B8 in the spreadsheet. All right, so let's try that out. So let's go back to doing this wrong. So we only have these 5 things highlighted. We insert our pie chart that will not look good. And again, I had to store this to memory. So we go to specifically the select data command in the chart tools design. So when we have this open, again, I have got this menu that hides things I have to move. Here we go. Here's select data. And then edit the horizontal category axis label, which is over here. We're going to edit. And then axis label range, we want to do B4 through B8. So B4 colon B8, B4 colon B8, and hit OK. And that didn't work, so we try again. We go to select data, we go to edit, there we go. So this is the one where you can click and hold. So I just click them instead of typing them, hit enter, hit OK, and now you can see everything's good. So that first thing I did where I just tried to type B4 through B8 didn't quite work. So we hit OK. Let's show you one more time in case you missed it. So we have that activated. We select our data. We go to edit. And then we just click and hold and let go. We hit OK. And now everything is well labeled. So that's one way you can fix things on your horizontal axis. And again, this could be relevant to homework. So please, please come back to these videos. It will only help you. Why is it not letting me go to the next page now? This thing is weird sometimes. Technology. Caution. And this is something some of you may have seen already. More is not necessarily better. Remember the old adage, keep it simple, silly. If you've heard a different version of that, that's not the one we'll use in class. The following is an example of a really bad chart created by highlighting everything, adding labels you cannot read, and formatting with, quote, garish colors in this kind of rainbow spherical pattern thing going on. Note how totals dominate everything and make the other values hard to read. Gross, yuck. So there's a video that you can click and watch, and I'm not going to watch this whole thing. I have to change something in my settings first to make it share computer sound. Go.
Awful chart. Caution, more is not necessarily better. And formatting with garish color. Often highlight everything. Next.
So here's where the author just kind of shows
And exactly what you want to chart, and highlight that data accordingly. People who just want to get it done often highlight everything. Next, insert 3D clustered column chart. Lacking any sense of what information they're trying to convey, the get it done crowd resorts to Flash. Why choose 2D when you can go 3D? Not quite sure what labels are appropriate, the more is better mentality kicks in, and lots of data label boxes are checked. Surely both the series name and category name are important. Better check both just to be sure. And it doesn't cost anything. Yes, looking good, like I spent a lot of time on this. Now for some eye candy. Right-click on the background and click on the fill arrow. Choose gradient and then more gradient options. Go nuts using the gradient stops slider bar, changing color at each stop. Right-click again on the background and click on the fill arrow. Choose gradient and then more gradient options. This time, choose a circular pattern. Nice. Looks like a sunrise over the Atlantic. I think our work here is done.
So I think that's pretty funny. You'll notice that he just went through a whole boatload of options, things that I haven't taught you today and things that I'm not going to teach you because those are things you don't need for this course. There's gradients and the colors and the spheres and everything, the sunset as he called it, or sunrise, whichever it was. Those are things you really don't want to be adding. I mean, you can occasionally, maybe just one of them, but it's just not a great idea to do things that way. All right, so there's one last thing I want to do, and we're actually going to be done. I want to go to that chapter 0 spreadsheet, the guided worksheet for y'all. Remember, you've got definition areas. You can write definitions here. You'll have actual questions. Questions 1 through 8. What formula did you enter in the cell that you built in your Excel file? Don't forget you're saving these and you're going to send them to me in Canvas. Do not email me your chapter 0 Excel files. Again, do not email them. They should be submitted in Canvas. None of these questions are super, super crazy. Again, you're not emailing me this work. This is for your own good. What is the next part I wanted to get to? You'll notice some of this stuff we didn't talk about extremely in class, but we did mention that there are the 5 primary functions we use in Excel of sum, average, max, min, and count. So here in this activity, using the numbers on the screen from what we had, these particular numbers, so these numbers, what would you expect the average of C3 through C7 to be? Well, you could actually recreate the Excel spreadsheet and put a cell somewhere that says exactly this, and you can get it. Or you can try and anticipate that without doing the Excel. My suggestion is to do it both ways to make sure the answer makes sense. Count, don't worry about this one too much for now, but what I'll mention is count gives you a 1 if a cell has something in it, and a 0 if it doesn't. And by something, I generally mean a number. So again, don't focus on that one too much. If you skip number 4, that's perfectly fine. If we need it later, we'll discuss it then. But the rest of them, average gives you an average. Sum we've already used. Max gives you the largest from a window. Minimum gives you the smallest from a window. So there's a couple more charts in here that they ask you to recreate using the table, the chart that we've been doing today. I'm not going to do all of these, but I will do this one more. So I would ask you to try and recreate these 2 labels. One of them's good, one of them's bad. I said labels, didn't I? Charts, excuse me. This chart on the left is good. So this isn't looking at all 5 categories. It's a pie chart, excuse me, of just the soda, the 3 concerts. But this one includes the total. And you can see that it doesn't make sense because it included the total. They hovered over too much. They included too much in it. Because this says that soda sales were 50% and then the total sales were 50%. But the total is part of the individuals. So the left is good, the right is bad. So let's just make one more chart. We want to create this one, this bar chart that's not stacked, but it still shows the 3 different categories just independent of concert 1, concert 2, and concert 3. And we're not going to make it look exactly like that with all the the dots, the polka dots, and the stripes and everything. The reason they do it this way is because these things print out in black and white, and it makes it a little easier to read in black and white. So going back to our Excel file. So let's see if we can get this right. We got concert 1 through 3 labeled. Just move everything else to the side. And we probably need the soda and water and popcorn and cookie and hot dog named as well. So we probably have those highlighted, but this still isn't good enough because we need the concerts in there as well. Now, if I only highlight this, we can edit the horizontal axis as we just talked about earlier, and I type in the concert 1 through 3, or click and drag as we just saw. But I can get it right on the first try by highlighting this entire section. Then we go to insert. We want to do a bar chart. We want the vertical one. Now we don't want it stacked. This would be a stack chart where they're all on one bar for each item. We want it like this where they're separated. Again, maybe your boss wants it to look like this, maybe he wants it to look the other way, or maybe you think your boss wants it to look one way or the other. Sometimes it's not what your boss wants, it's you trying to guess and hope for the best. So the only thing that looks bad about this is the chart title should say concert revenue, probably. Yeah, concert revenue. So what I just did there was I accidentally deleted it, and I did it intentionally. I said accidentally, but I quote accidentally deleted it. So guess what we do? We hit undo. So make sure you're double clicking so that you're typing in there, then backspace. See, if I'd only single clicked, it deletes it. Concert. Don't hit enter. That one was a mistake on my part, so I backspaced, click away. And that looks pretty good. You just kind of compare the two. This time it even gave a better 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 range, probably because there's more data selected. Sometimes they do a better job labeling those or incrementing them, but that is something else that can be edited, but that's something we'll save for another day. So that is all I wanted to do. Like I said, on your own, these are very similar to what we did with the pie chart. So I would like you to create this one. If you don't want to create the wrong one, that's fine, as long as you know how to create the right one, but it's not something I'm asking you to submit. We did this one, we did this, everything else is pretty good. This question 5 in particular is about that wrong pie chart that we were just talking about. When you get to these more general questions, these reflections, again, you can put sentences, paragraphs, words, 1 word, 2 words, whatever. Skip it, that's up to you unless I tell you it's part of a group discussion. The main emphasis for this guided worksheet is the questions 1 through 5, 1 through 8 in the different sections. 1 through, how many were here? 7, another 8. So it's like 21 questions, most of which are pretty easy, all of which I've pretty much given to you in a recorded format that you can repeat on YouTube and come back to. So please remember,
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so that is it for the day. Actually, I take that back. There was one more thing I wanted to do. I got so sidetracked. I had several students sending me PMs during class today, and they were trying to figure out if they were on the downloadable version of Excel or the online version of Excel. So I just went to office.vccs.edu. This is the place where you can download Excel from. So if you have a computer that will allow you to, then when you log in, now I didn't have to log in because my credentials are saved, but you'd use your VCCS credentials, name, email address, password, whatever. And then once you log in, you'll come to a screen that'll look something like this. And here is where you will find the Install Office button. And then from there, you can download specifically just Excel or the whole package or whatever you like. I really hope it's not going to start that download. Okay, good. So you can download it from there, but what I want to make sure you're not doing is you are not using Excel from here. Do not use Excel from here. This is the online version of Excel that will mess you up in terms of grades. You will not have access to specific types of charts. So if I click this, oh yeah, let me just make a new blank worksheet. See how I'm still in Chrome? I'm still in Chrome. So it looks like Excel is just here, but you will find very different charts and stuff. If you go to insert, see how these charts look very different. They don't have all the different selections, blah, blah, blah. And again, I can tell because I'm still in Google Chrome because you can see the tabs. Oh, I can just go between Excel here and here. Again, no, do not ever for this class use Excel this way. Out in the real world, for your own stuff or a job later, maybe this might be a great way to use Excel. But you have to make sure that you're using it from your actual computer itself. Okay, so with that being said, per usual, email me if you have any questions. Remember that you currently have 2 assignments due, one very soon and one a couple of days away. The quiz being the soon, and the submitting what we just finished going over would be the further away part. So remember, if you have a number in there that's not correct, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for formulas to be correct. I'm looking for charts to be accurate and well made. We'll start talking about discussion boards more next class, and then we'll get into chapter 1. So go ahead and read over section 1.1 in the e-text, read over the chapter 1 notes to share, at least 1.1 and 1.2, because we'll talk about 1.2 a little as well, honestly, but at least the 1.1 stuff. All right. I hope that this was helpful. Remember that the replay will be there for you in case you need to see something twice. You can use the slowdown feature in case I talk too fast. But yeah, hopefully that will be helpful for you to complete this file and have a better understanding of Excel. And remember that it's just exactly what you saw me do over last lecture and this lecture. That's all you have to submit. You don't have to do anything else. That'll be all. All right, so take care, everyone. Have a good day. We will see you next time. Get as much work done as possible. Stay ahead of the game, and we will do well this semester. Remember, everything about this course is just making sure to do the work. Do the work, do the work. All right, take care.